welcome to this tutorial about infrared sensors. Now, this sensor doesn't do all that much, but still, infrared is something that's very, very fascinating. It's essentially light, just like the visible light that you see and move around with, except it has two interesting properties. One, infrared is invisible to you. The cones in our eyes, our sensors, our human sensors, cannot see infrared. And two, infrared carries heat. So when you go out in the sun and you feel hot and you feel, the sun burning your skin, what's actually happening is that the infrared portion of sun's rays are vibrating the molecules in your skin, and that vibration of that molecules is what heat is. So infrared is how electromagnetism transmits what we call heat. And in this sensor right there, that bulb is an infrared LED. So it works just like any other LED, except it transmits infrared. And when the sensor is on, you're going to see nothing. It's going to look the same as if it's off. But cameras actually capture something. So it's probably going to be like a whitish, purplish glow. And that's because the sensors in the camera can capture infrared while your eyes can't. And probably one of the most common applications of infrared is remote controls, like this one or the one that you use for your TV or Wi-Fi, stereo, whatever. And if I press the button, you'll probably, I don't know if you can see that. I can on my little preview. That's what infrared looks like on camera. So what does the sensor do? Basically, this guy is permanently turned on, shining infrared rays into the neighborhood, the surroundings, and when something comes close, enough of those infrared rays are reflected to trip out this detector. So this is basically a proximity sensor or a collision sensor. And I think it's going to be particularly useful for my four-wheel drive Rover, because I'm going to use an ultrasonic, but if ultrasonic malfunctions or is not facing the right way, this guy is hopefully going to save me from some collisions. Now, how are we going to run it? Well, just like in other 2-minute circuits, we'll plug it straight in between A0, A1, and A2. A2 will be VCC, so 5 volts, A1 is ground, and A0 is going to read the signal out of this pin. And for testing purposes, we'll also put an LED in pin 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, and GND, 12, 13, GND, I think it's going to work. Alright, so let's have a look at a program that can run this thing. Alright, program right here. As I said a second ago, pins A0, A1, and A2 are A1 and A2 are powering it, and A0 is our input. So we'll be reading pin A0 to find out what the sensor is saying. We have our LED, which is in pin 11, and right here we turn the sensor on with A1 and A2. We tell the serial to turn on, which is going to basically print out the value of A0 of the sensor and see what the sensor is doing. Now, this is the loop, and it says serial, print line, analog read A0. All this means is read what's in A0, wait a second, and if the reading is less than 500, now the reading is going to be anything between 1 and 1024. If it's less than 500, turn on the LED, otherwise turn it off. And you might notice I didn't use curly brackets. You can get away without using curly brackets if all you want triggered by your if statement is just one line long. So if you don't use curly brackets, if that happens, it'll do this. And if you had something else written underneath, it would skip the second line. Alright, let's upload this and see what happens. Alright, the LED is on, we should say it's detecting an obstacle. And I think it should be off. Well, maybe it's the light. Oh, it is the light. So if I block out the light, it's off. So I'll turn off one of the lamps. So now if I put my hand in front of it, it's going to turn on. Because of that 1 second delay, it's not doing it instantly. But I think that once we take that delay out, and once we get rid of the serial print line, the responses are going to be instantaneous. And have a look at this. Maybe if I turn the second light off, that's right there, that's the infrared sensor. That is the infrared LED shining out infrared into the world. Alright, I'm going to get rid of the delay in the serial print line. And I think for testing purposes we have to remove this. Okay. Wow. See, that's instantaneous responses. So I think if you're building circuits, or if you're building some kind of 100% accurate, very quick collision sensor or proximity sensor, infrared is the way to go. Alright, that's it for today. Your turn to build it. Guys, just letting you know that every single one of these tutorials comes with a downloadable PDF manual and the finished program. The PDF manual usually contains more information about the program and step-by-step instructions that are illustrated on how to build a circuit. And the downloadable program will be sure to save you some time. So hop on over to robotics.com.au.